This would only compound the problem. The vehicles are not equipped to handle the sustained winds over 40 miles per hour, particularly the low-profile cars, the police cars. So they will shelter in place. They will be available if the winds abate, and when the winds abate permanently, we will be back on the streets. We will be doing what we do every day for the people that hire us.
And I have to say, Mayor, I did get the chance to witness the Tampa Bay draining out. It was something else. I mean, something out of this world. A lot of people were out far in the sand where it's usually filled with water. And again, as interesting and incredible as that may seem, it's a very dangerous situation. We don't want anybody out sightseeing. I mean, have you ever seen that before here in Tampa Bay?
No, Chris. I mean, it's unfortunate that you can't legislate stupidity. But yeah, there were clearly people that were out there where they shouldn't have been. You know, they're lucky they didn't get hurt. They're lucky that tide didn't come back in quick. I have never seen the bay get sucked out like that. Well, I only saw pictures of it. I actually live on Davis Islands, which is right next to where you were. But I know it would have been an amazing sight, but they should have stayed on the concrete side.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, hopefully everyone is out and back in their safe places. They're hunkering down and ready to ride out this storm. Now, going into the storm, I know Pinellas County is not letting anyone back in until it's safe. They're going to have checkpoints. Is there anything similar here in Tampa, especially for the zones that were evacuated, and as far as them wanting to get back after the storm, what's the procedure they're going to have to go through?
Well, we don't have the same barrier islands that Pinellas does, so it's very easy to isolate them and protect those. Our situation is a little bit different. We will determine that literally hour by hour. Once the sun comes up and it's safe, we will get our clearing teams out there with the heavy equipment to clear the arterials, to make sure people have the ability to come back, those that have evacuated. We want to lift this curfew as soon as we possibly can so people can start moving back into their homes, fixing their homes if necessary. But we want to make sure that we can get the debris out of the road. We want to make sure our partners at TECO can get any live wires that have come down out of the road. We just want the families that are coming back to be safe as they move back into their homes, but we want them back in their homes as fast as possible.
All right, wise words there, Mayor Tampa. Thanks so much for joining us, Bob Buckhorn. Stay safe, and again, we will come out on the other side stronger. Tampa strong, that's absolutely correct. Everyone needs to stay safe, and remember, there's going to be power lines down, there's going to be trees over. This is why it's absolutely smart and wise to just stay put. Even after the winds die down, we're talking tomorrow evening, you need to just stay put until they give the all clear and the crews can get out there and clear everything up. But right now, we are just on the front beginnings of the worst of the weather here in Tampa, and a lot of issues are going to be expected here overnight and into the morning hours. And as far as Tampa goes, if you haven't done so yet, you can text Tampa Ready to 888-777, and they're going to give you the latest update with the City of Tampa, emergency alerts, and information as far as evacuations, and also letting people back in, damage reports, and different things around town. Now, I do want to bring Stephanie Abrams back down in Bradenton. She's about 40 miles to our south. And again, there in Bradenton, I mean, we've been watching transformers go out behind us. The power's been going out, literally building to building. Still some power on, but not likely for long as the winds continue to howl here. Now, what's the story there in Bradenton?
It's interesting you say that because we've had no flickers, at least where we're located. We're located at the Courtyard Marriott in Bradenton, right on the Manatee River. And speaking of that, they've been so generous and kind to us here so we can help more people. So I just wanted to give a shout out to the GM, Tom Jung, and Robin Price, the Director of Sales. They've been so helpful so that we've been able to set up and get this word out. So thank you. But no, we've had no power issues here whatsoever. Our winds have been sustained, around 40 miles an hour, gusting up to close to around 60 miles an hour. And it's just been consistent. And so, Chris, that's what's so interesting is you're basically getting what we're getting, but it all depends on what's built well, how the wind maybe whips around a building and you get maybe a stronger gust. But overall, with the rest of this system going Central Florida, Orlando, Gainesville, let's see, Lake City, over towards Perry, all these cities going up into Atlanta, you're just going to get this consistent wind with some stronger gusts. But then, Chris, you have to worry about, like on the east coast of Florida, the thunderstorms coming in, which means you could get even stronger than that. Around Port St. Lucie, you know, gusting 80, 90 miles an hour with some of those stronger thunderstorms.
Yeah, absolutely. And another hazard, it's the trees. We've had a wet summer, not only here in Florida, but throughout Georgia and Alabama. And when you have so much, you know, water in the ground, that makes it more unsturdy for those roots, and they're more easily able to be knocked over by winds 40, 50 miles per hour. That's going to be the biggest issue, I think, going into Georgia and Alabama, even the Carolinas.
That is exactly, I agree with you on that. And, you know, as the wind field expands, as these things kind of wind down, I mean, if you look at the radar right now, there's not even an eye. And so meteorologically, we start to call this the center of circulation instead of saying the eye, because this is a massive, you know, expanse, several hundred miles across. And people up into Georgia are going to get those tropical storm force winds as we head into tomorrow. That's why some schools are closed in Georgia for tomorrow and Tuesday, I know around some of the Atlanta suburbs. We also have that onshore push over in Georgia and South Carolina. And so we will be getting not only some water issues there and water rise issues, but you're also going to get those thunderstorms coming in. And usually in those areas in the outer bands, you're going to get the tornadoes to spin up. And there's been multiple tornado warnings reported with this. The other thing, Chris, is the winds. So look at the winds coming in, right? Florida, Georgia, South Carolina. On the back side of this, there's been some dry air that's gotten in. We're obviously at nighttime now. As it goes north, our winds are going to shift. They've basically been north or northeast. And by the way, that's the direction the wind is coming from. So the wind goes from the northeast to the southeast if you say it's a northeast wind. As it goes north, our winds are going to shift around to the west, northwest, well, northwest, west, southwest type of a thing. That's going to push the water in. And you're right in Tampa, where they had, you know, that water evacuated with winds that weren't very strong. It was nothing like we'd ever seen in Tampa. Some manatee, they were going out to rescue manatee who were stuck sitting on dry land because the water had gone out. You know, who's concerned? I mean, people should be concerned about that water pushing back in once the winds shift around, and it happening perhaps when it's dark out.
Yeah, absolutely. It's never a good sign when you see the water just retreating. I mean, I mentioned that's the similar scenario that happened back in the tsunamis in Asia. They saw the water retreating. It's never a good sign when the water's retreating and areas that should be underwater are not. You know something bad is about to happen, and it can happen very quickly. So you don't want to go out and sightsee. You don't want to especially walk out where there typically is water. Areas that are dry will see the storm surge, and it's going to come in very quickly, especially as that center of circulation gets to our north. And then the winds become more onshore and pushes all that storm surge right up into the bay. But again, a very dangerous situation going forward. Tampa hasn't been in the thick of a hurricane in quite some time, and a lot of people here haven't even ridden out a storm. In fact, some people here are locals that are unsafe where they are, and they're staying in the hotel we are, and we're seeing that across the board. Now, keep in mind, there's a curfew in place here in Tampa, and I also want to mention to our county north, Pasco County, they have a mandatory curfew, and that began at 7 p.m. as well. So these curfews, take them seriously. The police department certainly is. If you're out, they will pull you over and ask you, what are you doing out? You need to get to safety, because it is not wise to be out and about. Now, I do want to talk about safety. A lot of people are concerned about our safety and people out in the storm. The Weather Channel team is so good about the safety of not only us, but our whole crew, everyone behind the scenes. And Stephanie, there you are. Where we are right now, we feel very safe. The winds, you know, they're 60 miles per hour, but we're not even feeling those because we're blocked by our hotel. It's a 12-story structure right behind us, and the winds are coming from that direction. As they circle around, we have a much very safe location on the other end. But what's it like where you are, Steph, right there on the Manatee River? What's your location like, and how are the safety precautions being measured, even as you bring everybody what they can expect from Bradenton?
Yeah, you know, I mean, and those are gusts to 60 miles an hour, right? We're sustained in this area more in the 30, 40 mile per hour range. You can see that Sarasota just to our south, sustained at 43, gusting to 64. Tampa, sustained at 29, gusting to 49. We're a little bit higher up. We're on the 5th floor, but right on the water, you're going to have the stronger winds. You get a little friction, it's going to slow down. But I wanted to mention, you talked about that water coming in. A lot of people are using the tsunami comparison. And, you know, I just want to make sure we're really careful with how we use that, because the water's not going to come in like the tsunami. The only comparison is that the water has gone ahead of the system, but you're not going to have this huge tsunami wave coming in. I don't want everyone to start freaking out. The water is going to, come back in, but not as a wave. So I just want to make sure that, we articulate that. I totally know what Chris is trying to say, but I just want to make sure we finish that off. And yeah, safety first with the Weather Channel. I did a Facebook Live on how we're safe and everything. I want to talk about the rainfall now, though, because we still have something like 2/3 of the state dealing with this, and it's not only Florida, but Georgia, South Carolina, and North Carolina. Someone had asked, I'm in Atlanta, Georgia. Do I need to evacuate? No. There were some evacuations on coastal Georgia and coastal South Carolina with that onshore push, and so we are seeing that water rise up there. That will be a concern, and Chris, also the rain will be a concern. Anywhere from 8 to 12 inches here into central northern Florida, southern Georgia, and then a little bit less as we go farther out on either side. But we don't need any rain here in Florida. And as you get farther and deeper into northern Florida, southern Georgia, you get more of that red clay opposed to South Florida, Chris, where we have that sandy soil. Well, it drains through relatively quickly.
Yeah, so flooding definitely going to be a big issue, and as you mentioned, yeah, we don't want people thinking there's going to be, a tsunami. That's not the what's going to happen. But storm surge is going to come in pretty quickly with little notice, and it's going to cause major issues. But anytime you see the water going out, don't go in it, guys. It's never a good sign. Anyways, let's talk about the rainfall here in Tampa. And again, I think we've seen several inches, and there's already been ponding on the roads. The low-lying areas that typically flood already starting to fill up, and that's just due to the rainfall. This could put down quite a bit of rain, especially with the current track coming just off to our east. That means we could be in the thick of the rain for quite some time. We could easily see 8, 10 inches plus, and that could cause major issues. It's been a very wet summer here in Florida, and a lot of places are running well above average for their average summer rainfall. Typically it's wet in Florida, but when you throw in a tropical system, you're getting a lot more rain in a very little amount of time, and that could cause a lot of issues. A lot of rivers here as well, all under flood warnings, as they are expected to not only get to record levels, but also surpass record levels. The Alafia River and also the Hillsborough River, we're keeping a very close eye on here in Hillsborough County. But you also have the Peace River down where south of Sarasota, and you also have the Manatee River there right where Stephanie Abrams is. And again, what's the deal with that? That could cause minor flooding, and storm surge could go right up the river as well.
Yeah, and also to note with the rainfall, this is not a Harvey situation. There was a lot of concern about that. There we saw 30 inches through a big chunk of Houston, even 50 inches for our max, and it rained out for 5 days. This is going to rain today, gone tomorrow type of a situation. And yes, it could be 8 to 12 inches, but we're not going to see a Harvey situation. So I want to calm everyone's nerves with that. Chris did mention behind me is the Manatee River. And we have seen whitecaps on the Manatee River all day, but the water has not come up and over, though there was a lot of room in between where the water was and then also where the top of kind of the sidewalk was and the railing there. But as this passes us, I think that's where we are going to see some bigger issues with that onshore flow, because right now, our winds, they've been out of the north-northeast. And as we see that center circulation pass us, those winds are going to shift around. You can always determine what side of a system you're on by looking at the winds. And so we are going to look at that. There's your rainfall totals, 5 to 7 inches here. And then the winds shifting around. Chris, that's going to be everything, and that's when we're going to see the big onshore push. Our next high tide here is around 4 in the morning. That's going to make a difference here because that storm is going to be passing by. And so that west wind means the winds go from the west to the east. And we're going to talk more about this with you and our other meteorologists. But first, we're going to step away for a break as we have continuing coverage here on Hurricane Irma on TV and also on our Local Now app. Download that, and it is streaming what's happening on air.
This piece is so you. I saw it and I was just like, oh, I have to have it.
State Farm knows that for every one of those moments, there's one of these.
This piece is so you. I saw it and I was like, have to have it.
From renter's insurance to rewards credit cards, State Farm is here to help life go right.
There's enough Coffee Mate pumpkin spice flavor for one more cup.
Rock, paper, scissors.
Oh, every time.
You know I can only do paper, right?
Oh, because the
Coffee Mate seasonal flavors are here.
It's like a mitt with no fingers.
Oh.
it is that makes your business great, promote it with Vistaprint. Choose from banners, postcards, or business cards, each starting at less than $10 when you enter TV10 at Vistaprint.com.
May God bless and keep you always. May your wishes all come true. May you always do for others. Let others do for you. May you build a ladder to the stars.
Long live tradition. And long live the trucks capable of carrying them on. Ram, proven to last.
Right now, get 0% APR financing for 72 months on all 2017 Ram 1500 models.
You're watching the Weather Channel. Continued coverage. We've got a team of experts that are lined up here in Florida. And of course, we've got an Army personnel back at the Weather Channel. People working around the clock to give you, your friends, your family the information you need to keep you and your community safe.
Whether we're getting you through it, we're taking you to it. Trust in the Weather Channel.
Attention Actos users. The FDA has warned about the risk of taking the type 2 diabetes drug Actos, and now the manufacturer has been ordered to pay a staggering $9 billion in punitive damages for hiding evidence that Actos causes bladder cancer. If you or a loved one were diagnosed with bladder cancer after taking Actos, you may be eligible to receive a substantial cash award. Do not delay. You must act before the deadlines pass to file a claim. Call the Rely On Group now. You will be connected with an experienced attorney for a free consultation and to see if you may qualify for financial compensation. There is absolutely no risk on your part, and you don't owe us a penny unless we're successful. If you or a loved one have been diagnosed with bladder cancer after taking the diabetes drug Actos, call the Rely On Group now at 800-883-7153 for a free consultation. That's 800-883-7153.
We've got a team of experts that are lined up here in Florida. And of course, we've got an Army personnel back at the Weather Channel.
Trust in the Weather Channel.
Currently in our area, 56 degrees under mostly cloudy skies. Tonight, mainly clear, low 49. Winds light and variable. Monday, sunny sky. Monday night, mainly clear skies, low 53. Winds light and variable. Here's our 7-day outlook.
We're taking the heat of this eye wall right now, and collapsing or not, and we just had a gust of 88 miles an hour at Fort Myers International Airport. We are getting pounded with rainfall, so there's just a ton of rain coming down through here.
So the inner edge of the eye wall.
Look at that, it's going from bright.
Yeah.
How can you not see that? Look at how bright it's got.
We can see it, Jim. We can see how much brighter it is suddenly. All the white cars behind you are suddenly very white.
Wow. Yeah. Wow, that's good to see. Yeah, this is nuts.
Right on the edge, Jim.
I've never
you are
seen
so
that kind
on
of
the
brightening.
edge.
Okay. Yeah, that brightening and darkening, and it looks like off to my northeast a little bit. It looks even, yeah, exactly. So off to my northeast, that's where the eye went. Off to my south and west, it's a little bit brighter here. So we're kind of, you're right, we're right at the edge, Brian.
And wind's definitely picking up here in Bradenton. Just within the last 30 minutes, as I look over the balcony, it's coming right off the Manatee River, and it is fierce. There was an official wind gust in Orlando at 76 miles an hour. We've been gusting here to about 60 miles an hour. That is the official reading. Of course, coming off the water here, you're going to have some stronger winds where it's just smooth sailing. There's no friction to slow it down. I want to talk more about the water and bring in hurricane expert Dr. Brian Norcross to talk more about the surge and where we stand with that now that the center of circulation has been riding essentially up 75 or a little east of 75, opposed to being in the water, Brian, which is where we thought this might be a little bit closer to.
And it's significantly different, the dynamics and the angles and the drying out of the back of the storm. So here's what I think has happened, Stephanie. Just analyzing this, I was just talking to Dr. McNabb about it, and look at Naples here. Now, here's what happened in Naples. The water went out. We all know you could walk 100 yards out in the Gulf of Mexico. It was way out. So this is where it normally would be. That's where it ended up. And then when the wind quit blowing from the east, that strong wind that's pushing all the water out of Tampa Bay, out of the Gulf of Mexico, out to the west of the Gulf of Mexico, when that turned enough to get rid of that wind stress, suddenly that water came back. And it came back, and it came back strong. But then, now it's going down. I think this has happened, Steph. I don't think we're going to get the big storm surge. I think that, I'm not saying we're not going to get some storm surge. Got a couple feet of water that's come into Naples, and there's water over some parts we know of Marco Island. I'm not saying it's safe to be out there at the beach while this is doing, but the forecasts were for 10 to 15 feet, thinking that the storm would go up the west coast where the angles and the strength would be completely different, and it would be a much stronger hurricane when it went by. Now that it's weaker, now that it's dried out on the backside, when we look at the radar here, we can see that the winds here, and in Naples, they're west at 35 on the backside. So the west wind is in, but it's only 35 knots, so it's about 40 miles an hour. So it's not nothing. That'll make a surge in the Gulf of Mexico, but that's not going to make a 10 to 15-foot surge. So I think, from a surge standpoint, we've dodged a bullet here. There's still a lot of things to go wrong tonight in the state of Florida, right? And a lot of people are going to get hurt by this. But from a surge standpoint, everybody should stay away from the coast. But it's not, it's not what it was forecast to be or could have been. Steph?
Patrick woke up with back pain, but he has work to do, so he took a leave. If he'd taken Tylenol, he'd be stopping for more pills right now. Only Aleve has the strength to stop tough pain for up to 12 hours with just one pill. Aleve, all day strong.
Hi, Phil Swift here for Flex Tape, the super strong waterproof tape that can instantly patch, bond, seal, and repair. Flex Tape is no ordinary tape. Its triple thick adhesive virtually welds itself to the surface, instantly stopping the toughest leaks. Leaky pipes can cause major damage, but Flex Tape grips on tight and bonds instantly. Plus, Flex Tape's powerful adhesive is so strong, it even works underwater. Now you can repair leaks in pools and spas without draining them. Flex Tape is perfect for marine, campers, and RVs. Flex Tape is super strong, and once it's on, it holds on tight. And for emergency auto repair, Flex Tape keeps its grip, even in the toughest conditions. Big storms can cause big damage, but Flex Tape comes super wide, so you can easily patch large holes. To show you the power of Flex Tape, I sawed this boat in half and repaired it with only Flex Tape. Not only does Flex Tape's powerful adhesive hold the boat together, but it creates a super strong watertight seal, so the inside is completely dry. Yeah, doggy! Just cut, peel, stick, and seal. Imagine everything you can do with the power of Flex Tape. You get a large roll of Flex Tape for just $19.99. Plus, we'll include a handy can of Flex Seal, Flex Shot, or Flex Seal Liquid. Call now.
To order Flex Tape, call 1-800-459-8749. That's 1-800-459-8749, or go to FlexTapeOffer.com. This offer is not available in stores. Not enough room in your closet? Save space with the new Wonder Hanger Max. Now bigger and 50% stronger. It's easy. Just place 5 garments in the open slots. Lift and release. Wonder Hanger Max triples your closet space for neat, wrinkle-free, organized clothes. Strong enough for 5 heavy winter coats or 30 pounds of golf clubs. From purses to quilts. Organize your entire wardrobe with a Wonder Hanger Max system. Enough to hold 50 garments in one closet. Get your Wonder Hanger Max today. Available at most retailers.
As Hurricane Irma's path continues, there is one place to turn to and to trust. Taking you to the front lines, keeping you ahead of the storm. Experts breaking down the science behind the system, tracking every possible path.
Follow the Weather Channel. They're tracking exactly where the storm's going to be.
Whether we're getting you through it or taking you to it, trust in the Weather Channel. As Irma's path continues, there is one place to turn to and to trust, keeping you ahead of the storm. Experts tracking every possible path. Whether we're getting you through it or taking you to it, trust in the Weather Channel.
This is an eye wall. This is truly an eye wall here. The heart of Irma right now in Naples. This is the meat of it right here, folks. This is the eye wall of Irma.
And welcome back into the Weather Channel. Earlier today in Miami, winds gusted 100 miles an hour higher in some places there into South Florida, and also flooding was an issue in Brickell. Meteorologist Mike Seidel was there when it was all happening. That is starting to subside as the storm continues to move off to the north, but there have been damage. There was a crane that broke. I saw on Twitter some glass that was flying. So there is some damage in Miami from this hurricane, even though it was well away from the center of circulation. Our winds have started to pick up here in Bradenton. We're right on the Manatee River. We're on the 5th floor, but we want to take you down by the river. And look at that. Just the wind and the rain being thrown off of the Manatee River here. Top wind gusts here have been in the 60-mile-an-hour range. Up towards Disney, they've been gusting up to around 70 miles an hour. Port Charlotte, 79-mile-per-hour gusts for you. Lee County, 89-mile-per-hour gusts. So it has been a gnarly evening, but I got to tell you, things are starting to get worse now. This is probably the worst it's been. We've been out here since 5 o'clock doing live shots. Obviously, we've been here all day. But we are in a very strong band that is coming around the north side of the center of circulation. It's just been a pretty consistent wind. This, though, however, is much stronger than we have had so far. And that is because we're into one of these bands that are rotating around. It's bringing heavy rain. It's bringing some very strong winds as well. We're also right on the water, and so the wind is going to go a lot faster because there's less friction relative to it being on land. Right now, the sustained winds of this hurricane are 105 miles an hour, and we anticipate it to continue to drop as it goes through Central Florida and on into North Florida as well. So we're going to get it bad here into Central and North Florida. But we are not going to see what, say, Mike Bettis saw going through that wicked eye wall as it was a Category 3. It's going to continue to drop, but this alone, I mean, with sustained winds at 105 miles an hour as a Category 2, it is still blowing very hard out there. We have power, though I know up towards the Tampa area they've lost power, and that's where we are joined by Chris Bruin. He has been monitoring the situation in Tampa through the day. And Chris, I don't know if it doesn't seem as if this has actually gone over the bay. I'm actually looking at a radar right now, but this will obviously be rotating north into you. Are you feeling any effects of this yet?
Yeah, Stephanie. I mean, it's been pretty strong here. I mean, we've had gusts easily over 50, getting close to 60 miles per hour. We keep looking off towards the sky behind us, and there'll be flashes. There'll be blue and green flashes, not lightning, but transformers being blown. And I just took a look at the latest update from Tampa Energy, who does the power here throughout Hillsborough County, and there's now 100,000 people throughout Tampa Bay without power, and that number is climbing rapidly. We've watched the power go out hotel to hotel. Ours went out about 2 hours ago, but a lot of the hotels have plans in place. Now, we are here in Tampa Bay, where the water has been draining out of the bay for hours now. We actually have some video we want to show you, and I can tell you firsthand, I was there watching it, and it is otherworldly. I mean, something that most people have never seen in their lifetime. This is a bay, a very big bay, that's always filled with water, even on a nice fair weather day. Never is there ever a beach. Again, you can see the water goes right up to the road. There's a seawall there along Bayshore Boulevard, and today there was sand as far as the eye can see. You can even see people that were walking out. Now, that is not advised, and hopefully all those people are back in their homes safely. But the mayor did make a statement saying that he wanted to get people inside, and of course Tampa did go under a mandatory curfew citywide beginning at 6 p.m. tonight, and the police are strongly enforcing it because it is dangerous to be out there. Even though we've only had gusts up to 46 to 50, maybe even 60 miles per hour, it is getting dangerous to be out and about, especially at this time of night, and the weather is continuing to go downhill as the center of Irma continues to get closer. Now, I do want to bring in Brian Norcross, and again, Brian, it looks like the track has shifted just off towards the east. So even though we may not be directly impacted here in Tampa Bay by the center, that still doesn't mean we're anywhere out of the woods, especially that we could be in the 60 to 80 mile per hour winds even longer as that continues to ride up just off to our east.
You know, Chris, the strongest winds in this hurricane have been near the center and in this incredibly strong outer band that now is just coming toward the Tampa Bay area. And although it's the weaker part of the band because you're on the west side than on the east side, and the east side has produced those winds up to 99 miles an hour. In Miami, the winds gusted over 130 miles an hour with this band, but that was back when the hurricane was stronger. You were talking about the storm surge. I didn't, and I made a statement a moment ago. I just wanted to emphasize what I said and just clarify it while you and I were talking. Looking at the gauge in Naples, the water level is actually coming down a little bit, but the tide is going down. So it's going to stay elevated like it is for a while because the tide is going to come back up and the wind is still blowing from the west. What my point is that, in fact, it might even go up to a little bit more at high tide. My point is that the winds are already from the west. We're not getting the big push of air in, so that water is going to come back into Tampa Bay, but I don't think it's going to come to the highest levels that it would have if we had had a stronger hurricane tracking right along the coast or just offshore. Chris?
And Brian, that's definitely good news here for residents in Tampa. So with the latest update, maybe not the 5 to 8 that was originally thought, but still 2 to 4, 2 to 5, that can still cause some flooding, especially there in the low-lying areas right along the Bayshore. Or Bayshore Boulevard, likely still to see that flooding as the water comes up, and it will happen pretty quickly. So that's why you want to stay in. You never know when these gusts are going to get to 60, 70, 80 miles per hour, and it could totally wipe you off your feet. So stay put. Again, even if the weather does subside, we kind of get in and out of the gusts, especially even here where I am. You can see I mean, we're a little bit protected now because keep in mind, the winds are coming from the east and the east-northeast. That's in our opposite direction in front of me. So we have this huge 12-story hotel that we're staying at, and that's blocking most of the winds from right where I am. But if you were to step just off to the side of the building, which is what you're seeing, and I'm surprised those lights are still on because they've been going in and out over the past 2 hours, you can really get a taste of what the 40 mile per hour winds near sustained are doing, and they're gusting over 50 at times here, and that's what's blowing out those transformers. So what do you think, Brian, as far as winds go with the latest update and the weakening, of course, of Irma down to a Category 2? What do you think are the highest winds that we can expect to see here throughout Tampa and St. Pete?
Yeah, I think that somewhere around Category 1, maybe in the 60s, something like that, sustained, maybe gusting to the 70s or the 80s, something on that order, Chris. And I wanted to mention, you just reinforce what you said, because what you said was exactly correct. The water, when it came back into Naples, when the wind quit blowing it offshore and the wind switched around enough to allow the water to come back in, it came back in a hurry. So if somebody in the 9th was to go down to the beach and say, oh, look how interesting this is that the water is so far out, they would be surprised by that water coming in, and it'll come in with velocity, right? So that is a high concern. That's why there's a curfew in effect. That's exactly correct. We don't want anybody looking around there tonight, because it's such a fascinating thing to see the water so low. Chris?
All right, again, so storm surge a major aspect, but so is the wind. Even 70, 80 mile per hour can do quite a bit of damage. We haven't even seen gusts that strong, but take a look at this video that we have coming out of Tampa, Florida. This is a roof being blown off of a structure. And again, we haven't even seen the strongest of winds yet, as the center of the storm is still about 100 miles to our south. So the wind field on this thing is massive. It is going to impact everybody in Florida, and this is why you need to be in a sturdy structure. It's too late to go anywhere else. You want to stay put where you're at, and keep in mind there is a citywide curfew here in Tampa, and that began a couple hours ago. Now, Pasco County to our north, your mandatory curfew is now in effect as well. That began at 7 p.m. So heed these warnings. Do not go out and drive, sightsee, take a look around the neighborhood to see what's going on. Again, it may be tempting. You may be cramped up in your house. You want to stay put inside where you are safe and away from the elements. And especially that's what we want to heed. That's what the mayor and all the officials have been wanting to give out. Now, if you live in Tampa and you want to get the latest emergency updates, you can text Tampa Ready to 888-777. Now, Brian, again, I want to ask you, so we talked storm surge, we talked winds. We know the bridges are all closed. We got the Gandy Bridge, the Campbell Causeway, and also the Sunshine Skyway. And who knows when those will reopen. Those close at 40 mile per hour winds, which we will likely be in for quite some time. As this goes north, people in North Florida, Georgia, they're not out of the woods either.
No, that's right. And the Sunshine Skyway Bridge especially is very, very high, and the winds are significantly higher up aloft than they are down at the ground level. So even if you have 40 mile an hour or 30 mile an hour winds at the ground level, you can have 50 or 60 mile an hour winds at the top of that bridge. So that's significant. And this is going to, I don't think that this move inland is going to have a tremendous effect on the issue in Georgia and South Carolina. This is a huge vortex. The winds are already blowing at 50 miles an hour on the South Carolina coast. So, Chris, it's even though this storm is way down by Fort Myers, the scope of it, it's already into Georgia and South Carolina, and overnight tonight and through tomorrow, it's going to expand actually as it moves to the north, in spite of the fact that it came ashore kind of early and ended up having the peak winds be weaker than we forecast yesterday. Thankfully, it worked out this way, although people in the way of the worst of those winds around the center certainly probably are not thrilled with the developments. But overall, it has led to a weaker storm.
And Brian, let's talk about the structure of the eye, because obviously as it's now interacting with land, it is weakening and becoming a little bit less, prevalent. It's not its typical eye, especially on the south side, very dry, not nearly as much moisture as what we're seeing on the north side. So as it continues to fall apart, at least the eye, now is that core of the strongest winds, they will weaken, but the outer eye wall is likely to expand. We've seen this in past hurricanes. What can you tell us about that as it gets further up the west coast and inland and still continuing to weaken in its organization, the outer eye wall becoming larger? So even though the winds may go down, we still may have 100 mile per hour winds that expand out a little bit more. What's the latest with that? And what may that cause for issues potentially further north, like Orlando and up towards Ocala and Gainesville? Yeah, so what we have is an eye wall fragment now. It's last night it was a donut. It's like somebody ate about a little more than half of the donut, and that's what's left.
So we can see that actually on the radar, what's left of it, though there are intense winds in that segment that went just to the east of Fort Myers. And that's heading in the direction right now of Sebring. And if it continues on this path, unless there's some deviation to the left, that's going to come near the entertainment complex there, Disney and Universal Studios and all those places down I-4 south of Orlando. And certainly Lakeland would seem to be in the path of this unless there's some significant deviation. So this is different, but the thing is that the hazards, the non-eye-wall related and non-storm surge related hazards are still all there. The tornadoes, the flooding rains, the winds, hurricane force gusting. We still see the gusts up 90 to 100 miles an hour. So all of that is still going on here tonight. It's just going on a little more focused, I think, in Central Florida and East Florida. Stephanie, in Bradenton, there's a band I can see that looks like it's the end of the really strong band, the west end of it. And I hear rain in your microphone. Stephanie, go ahead.
You can definitely tell a difference, Brian, and maybe you can get a wind observation for me. It's a little bit harder out here with everything wet and going on to get our, highest sustained and gusts that we've seen. The highest I've seen so far sustained at 46, gusting to 60. And the winds, Brian, now we're north. When we last talked a couple hours ago, it was north-northeast, but now that it's getting closer to us, it's a north wind. And I know it might take you a minute to find that Bradenton wind observation, but the winds have certainly accelerated, and we are right in one of those stronger bands of weather that are coming through. This is going to head to Tampa, going through Orlando. Also, Disney. We're starting to see wind reports at the airports there. Oh, I just lost it. It was on here, of how strong the winds have been gusting in those areas as well in Disney and Orlando. I'm trying to find it for you. Near Animal Kingdom, that's Disney, 70-mile-an-hour gust. Orlando gusting to 76 miles an hour. So it's not over just because it's made landfall. In fact, we still have all night to go here into Central Florida, North Florida, Georgia, also that onshore flow into the coastal areas of Georgia and also into South Carolina. Brian, was anyone able to grab the Bradenton latest wind observation?
Yeah, you have 39 gusting to 53 there, Stephanie, 39 gusting to 53. Okay. And you're absolutely right. I think if this trend continues, actually the Tampa Bay area in terms of wind is going to be on the left side of this. And that's not going to be the strong side. But this is not good news at all for the entertainment complex there in Orlando. It's not in Lakeland, south of there. There's a lot of people that live in that Central Florida I-4 corridor. It is heading that way in terms of the center of it. Not that we don't. In Melbourne right now, we have an extremely strong wind that's probably about equivalent with the eye wall. So it's we have a tornado where? Tornado, yes, in that cell I was just talking about in the Melbourne area. There's a tornado warning right now. We're going to get that up here because we can see it. There it is. There it is, right off of Melbourne Beach. Melbourne Beach, Indialantic. There's the causeway going over into Melbourne. This is at the Melbourne Airport, is where the radar is. I happen to know about this because this is where I grew up. So this is coming in right at Indialantic, actually. Melbourne Beach is just below Indialantic, and it goes over into the city of Melbourne, which is all in here. So this is a fairly decent couplet that is just about to move ashore. So take cover in the Melbourne area for very strong winds. But it's, Stephanie, we've had these embedded tornadoes, and for the most part, what they really are is extreme gusts in these in this area of elevated sustained winds. They're not generally super strong tornadoes, and it's already blowing good. It's already sustained at 50 or so, and now we get a gust up to 80 or 90. Whether it's a tornado or not, that's still a damaging gust.
And Brian, it makes a huge difference. We're right on the Manatee River. So I am fully exposed to just that wind going right over water, which makes it go a lot faster than, on the other side of the building where there's some protection, there's some friction, there's some trees, and it can slow down significantly. So, getting not only on the East Coast, those bands, just right where we're located, it does make a significant difference inland versus at the coast, which is one of the reasons they want people to get away from the coast.
Exactly. So right at the coast, like you said, you don't have any friction out over the ocean, so you get the strongest winds there. But it really has been amazing how strong those winds have been in Orlando. Having those winds reported up to 70, 80. What was the report at the Orlando Jetport?
79 earlier, I believe.
Yeah, I have it right here.
Yeah, so, I mean, that's that same band. It's the same band that's producing the tornado.
76.
It's actually the same band that caused all the damage in South Florida, where we had the winds sustained at 100 and gusting up to 130 in some of the elevated readings there. So that's sort of a second eye wall, even though structurally it's not an eye wall, but in terms of the wind that we've seen with it, it's up there. You know, the wind speeds are comparable to what we've seen in the same general range as what we've seen with the eye wall structure. Yeah.
And then what this means going into Georgia, you know, and portions of northern Florida. You know, as it starts to spread out, what does that mean exactly for the people in Lake City, say I-10 northbound? You know, the wind field continuing to expand?
The wind field is continuing to expand. I don't think there's any question about that. The other thing that's significant there is that the kind of trees that you have in North Florida are different, and the topography is different. You know, most of Central Florida and South Florida, especially South Florida, is very flat. Then you get some hills in Central Florida, so flash flooding becomes more of a threat. Same thing in North Florida, along with those big trees with those big long limbs that are really poor, perform really poorly in hurricanes. They're not designed for hurricanes or even gusts of strong tropical storm force, not to mention gusts over hurricane force. So all that's going to spread up into Georgia. That's why the tropical storm warning is here in Atlanta right now as well. Stephanie?
All right, Brian, we're going to continue to follow this, but first we're going to take a quick break, and then, of course, we will be back not only on here, but also on Local Now. Download our app, and the network is streaming to it.
Our equipment cleans like no one else's, with no harmful residue left behind. And our cleaning solution meets rigorous EPA Safer Choice standards.
That's why I call.
Call or go online for our $99 special.
Stanley Steamer, your certified cleaner.
Hi, I'm Lori Grenier. I love long hair, but I don't love the time it takes to style it.
Introducing the Sleep Styler, a heat-free system that takes your hair from this to this. Now you can create gorgeous curls poolside with the girls, all while you sleep or while you play. Sleep Styler has taken over social media. Girls are going wild over the hottest hands-free trend. Only $29.95. Available online and at these fine retailers.
As Hurricane Irma's path continues, there is one place to turn to and to trust.
You're watching the Weather Channel. Continued coverage around the clock. We've got a team of experts that are lined up here in Florida. And, of course, you've got an Army personnel back at the Weather Channel.
Stand by, okay?
People working around the clock to give you, your friends, your family the information you need to keep you and your community safe.
Whether we're getting you through it or taking you to it, trust in the Weather Channel.
Currently in our area, 55 degrees under mostly cloudy skies. Tonight, mainly clear, low 49. Winds light and variable. Monday, sunny skies. High 79. Winds north-northwest at 5 to 10 miles per hour. Monday night, mainly clear skies. Low 53. Winds light and variable. Here's our 7-day outlook.
If you have bad breath and your mouth lacks moisture, you may suffer from dry mouth. Try Biotene, the #1 dentist-recommended dry mouth brand. It's the only leading brand clinically proven to soothe, moisturize, and freshen breath. Try Biotene.
Take 5, guys.
Tired of your bladder always cutting into your day? You may have overactive bladder or OAB.
That's it. We really need to get with the program and see the doctor.
Take charge and ask your doctor about Myrbetriq mirabegron for OAB symptoms of urgency, frequency, and leakage. It's the first and only OAB treatment in its class.
Myrbetriq may cause serious allergic reactions. If you experience swelling of the face, lips, throat, or tongue, or difficulty breathing, stop taking Myrbetriq and tell your doctor right away. Myrbetriq may increase blood pressure. Tell your doctor right away if you have trouble emptying your bladder or have a weak urine stream. Myrbetriq may affect or be affected by other medications. Before taking Myrbetriq, tell your doctor if you have liver or kidney problems. Common side effects include increased blood pressure, common cold symptoms, urinary tract infection, constipation, diarrhea, dizziness, and headache.
Okay, time to do this.
Don't let your bladder always take the lead. Ask your doctor if Myrbetriq is right for you and visit myrbetriq.com to learn more.
Once there was a little pig that had built his house out of straw. One day, a big bad wolf huffed and he puffed and blew the house down. Luckily, the Geico Insurance Agency had helped the pig with homeowner's insurance. He had replacement cost coverage, so his house was rebuilt good as new. The big bad wolf now has a job on a wind farm. Call Geico and see how easy it is to switch and save on homeowner's insurance.
Elephants. We feel a deep connection with these sensitive giants of the wild. Yet there is something you should know. As many as 30,000 elephants are killed each year by vicious criminals as demand for needless ivory trinkets explodes. But with your help, we can make a change. WWF is working around the world to address global threats to wildlife and their habitats, such as poaching and illegal ivory trade. We need your support now more than ever. For just $8 a month, you can symbolically adopt an elephant and help save them and other endangered species and their habitats. To adopt now, call us or visit mywwf.org and receive a free adoption kit as our way of saying thank you. Elephant lives are at stake. Please help save them now.
We've got a team of experts that are lined up here in Florida. And of course, we've got an Army personnel back at the Weather Channel.
Trust in the Weather Channel.
Look over to the side! There's a large boat here!
See the video and then the interview. And welcome back into the Weather Channel. We want to show you video from West Palm Beach. They had a peak gust of 90, and they unfortunately had a boat that was getting destroyed because of that. Look at, oh, that's just so heartbreaking to see that happen, because boats, well, as we know, they certainly are not cheap. Again, we were seeing significant gusts from Miami at 100 miles an hour, you know, to the 80s, 90s, all the way up the coast, you know, towards Melbourne, Port St. Lucie, and that onshore push as well into southern Georgia and also into South Carolina. So this storm is moving, you know, central Florida. I mean, we're talking about 70-mile-an-hour wind gusts near Animal Kingdom, Orlando gusting to 76. We've been gusting here in the Bradenton area around 60 miles an hour. And this is what's headed northbound. The storm's starting to fall apart. Winds right now with the hurricane sustained at 105. It is a Category 2, but it is making its way towards North Florida. One of those places that will feel the effects is Tallahassee. We have the mayor who's joining us, Andrew Gillum, who is the mayor of Tallahassee. Mayor Gillum, thanks for being with us this morning. Tell us about what it's like currently in Tallahassee.
Yeah, I mean, we've been preparing for the last week, if you will, for potential impact from the storm. As you know well, the impacts have shifted from the east coast of the state to the west coast. We feel strong that we're ready for the impacts of this storm. But in Tallahassee, Florida, for the purpose of your listeners, we're a tree capital city, USA, lots of tree cover. And so we're obviously most concerned about down trees coming down on homes and on property, obviously loss of electricity. But we can deal with that so long as we're able to make it through this storm without any loss of life, which is obviously our intent.
Mayor, I want to talk to you about cancellations and curfews. So I had seen, and please correct me if I'm wrong, Florida State canceling classes all the way through Friday next week. And if that is correct, are there any other cancellations that have been put in place already?
Yeah, so we've instituted a curfew, which begins tonight at 9 p.m. and goes through Sunday night this evening, Monday. because we anticipate that the strongest of the impact will be felt tomorrow afternoon. But the fact that this is an 18-hour event makes us very, very cautious. And because of the potential threat of power outages sustained over a period of time, Florida State University has canceled classes all the way through the rest of this week. We are awaiting decisions from our local school system and the other universities here in Tallahassee.
Okay, so what do you want the residents to know as we head into the evening and tomorrow? Because that's when you guys will be feeling the worst effects of it.
Well, we're told that this evening, beginning around 11 p.m., the bands of 39, 40 mile per hour wind will start to make its way through. We want people to make sure that even though these bands may come in waves where it'll feel light at some periods of time and heavy at others, that the event will not be over until authorities tell you that it's safe to come out. Between now and tomorrow early evening, we're asking folks to stay put, hunker down where they are, take cover and protect themselves up until the point that authorities are able to say and the government is able to say that it's safe to take to the streets again. But we want to make sure everybody's safe, want to protect all life and property and people. So we're asking folks to hunker down where they are until tomorrow evening.
All right, Mayor, we certainly appreciate you coming on. Of course, our thoughts with everyone in the entire state of Florida. We want to now go back to Brian Norcross. Brian, it's 9 o'clock, excuse me. We have a full update from the National Hurricane Center coming in 2 hours. What are you expecting from that update?
I think we'll see the wind speeds down, maybe significantly, and I think we'll see a very different track, an inland track here for this storm. I just wanted to bring folks up to date because we really haven't started at the top here, and I wanted to talk about what happened today, because a lot of things happened today that we didn't expect when we were here last night. As of the latest advisory at 9 o'clock, they're still estimating, as of 9 o'clock, just updated, they're still estimating 105 miles per hour, but the full update will come at 11 o'clock and moving north at 14 as opposed to more west, having a westerly component to it. Well, what happened today? Well, first of all, look what it did, is it kind of veered a little bit to the right of due north, and the thinking was it was going to go more like that. Well, that leftward track would have been a much more threatening track in terms of storm surge along the coast, a dramatically different track. And it was this dry air out here. The orange stuff is dry air that managed to filter into the storm and weaken the bottom half of it, and also the change in the direction. Those two things together accounted for the fact that the storm surge happened. Look at when the water came pushing back into Naples, and then it started to fall a little bit. Now it's going to go up a little bit, I think, but it's not going to be a terrible storm surge as we had feared, because the storm tracked just to the right. As a matter of fact, coincidentally, Dr. Phil Glotzbach calculated it out. It came ashore exactly the same place Wilma did in 2005. And it turns out we have two really hazardous parts of the storm now. One is this eye wall here, the remnant of the eye wall that's heading up into central Florida. It may go between Orlando and Tampa. Lakeland, look out for that, Sebring. And also this band here, which is what did damage in South Florida and the Miami area. Now there's tornado warnings around Melbourne, another one up north of Orlando. So these hazards will continue to move north, moving into the Orlando metropolitan area at this time. So that's it for this hour. Dr. Rick Knabb takes over here at the desk. I'll see you back here tomorrow. Now the coverage continues here on the Weather Channel.
This is an eye wall. This is truly an eye wall here. This is the heart of Irma right now in Naples. Right here, folks. This is the eye wall of Irma.
What a day it's been, and what a night it is going to be. The landfall of Hurricane Irma is not the end of the event. We are concerned about a lot of folks in central and northern Florida, then heading into Georgia, and we have live team coverage. Stephanie Abrams is in Bradenton, Florida, and our Chris Bruin is in the Tampa area. where the weather's bad and it will be bad for a while to come. Not a good night to be out on the roads, a good night to be inside because we do have, Steph, some strong winds out there, some flash flooding. When people get out on the roads in these conditions, that's when bad things can happen. Definitely.
All right, so let's start you off here with the very latest with this system. And of course, it made 2 landfalls. First in the Keys is a Category 4, causing a lot of damage from what we've been able to see so far. Hard to get information out of there quite yet. And then it made a second landfall as a Category 3 on Marco Island with winds of 115 miles per hour. Mike Bettis going through the eye wall. Wait to see video of him getting smacked around by that. That was just remarkable. And as it's been going up the coast, essentially riding along I-75 or just east of 75, it's been starting to fall apart. But hey, we still have, Dr. Knapp, about 2/3 of the state of Florida, and then you throw in Georgia and South Carolina as well that are going to feel the effects of this. And as you can see here in Bradenton, we are not finished with it. Obviously, it's not as bad as it was going through Naples and the Fort Myers area, but we have seen those winds sustain where we are, 30, 40 miles an hour, gusting up to about 60 miles an hour. And Dr. Knapp, when you get that for hours upon hours upon hours, that's when you can see some of that damage.
Yeah, dangerous wind and water conditions for still a large portion of the Florida Peninsula into the Big Bend area tonight and into tomorrow. Irma is still going to be a hurricane for some time to come. And with the winds, we're talking about the potential for downed trees, causing power outages, isolated tornadoes that'll be quickly moving, short-lived, but can be damaging. And then when it comes to the water, we still have dangerously elevated waters on the Gulf Coast and in some places on the east coast of Florida. And then the water coming from the sky, it's going to come down in buckets, and we could be measuring it in feet. Very high rain rates of 2 to 4 inches, and that could cause the flash flooding, the slick roads, and the combination of slick roads and driving and down trees can be deadly. So let's stay off the roads and stay sheltered tonight as this hurricane moves northward inland over the Florida Peninsula. It is still a large and potent system headed towards central Florida, but still right now bringing some very strong winds to southwestern Florida. There's still an onshore flow. Don't go visit the Gulf of Mexico or any saltwater bodies right now because the water levels are still high. In any place where the water levels have come down, once Irma passes north of that area, then the water levels will start to come back up. So don't go wandering into the muck in Tampa Bay, for example, because the water is going to be coming back in. If we take a look at the big picture on the radar, look how large this system is, even with this tail offshore here of southeastern Florida. And look at a variety of flash flood and tornado warnings in east central and central Florida. There will be more of those to come, and just simply strong winds and continuous rain happening there in central Florida. So just to highlight, here's a flash flood warning in Brevard, Indian River, and Osceola counties affecting Melbourne, Palm Bay, and Sebastian. That's in effect until 10:15 p.m. Eastern time, sorry. And then just as an example, a tornado warning in effect till 9:15, similar areas. So we have multiple hazards, multiple reasons to be staying indoors and staying safe tonight. Now, what might the radar look like going forward as we go through the overnight hours? Again, it's not a complete structure of a hurricane like it was before, but the northern side of it will be moving through northern Florida. And look at all that rain headed into Georgia and southeastern Alabama and South Carolina, and there's still going to be trailing bands as we go into the day tomorrow. So it's still going to be a lot of bad weather, and where the center is forecast to go, again, it won't always be the center of action, but in any case, it is eventually going to be taking a left-hand turn. But this track, this cone might be adjusted a little bit to the right at the 11 p.m. advisory here within the next couple of hours because it has still been staying on the right side of the 5 p.m. cone for a while. So heads up in Orlando, even if the center of circulation doesn't go all the way to having the dead center go right over you, you could still get hurricane force winds. Still could get gusts in the 60, 70, 80 mile an hour range over much of central and northern Florida tonight. And then heads up, it's headed into Georgia tomorrow, and then perhaps affecting a good portion of the Tennessee Valley with at least some heavy rainfall and some gusty winds. So there could be power outages over a large area, and here's why. Nearly a certainty of tropical storm conditions in northern Florida tonight, and then the hurricane force winds could still happen in a large part of the Florida peninsula. So, Steph, we're really concerned about power outages for Florida, Georgia, and surrounding areas, and power outages can be problematic if you don't stay safe and play it smart. Steph?
Yeah, I mean, something like 3 million customers are without power in Florida, which is basically the population of Bradenton, Sarasota, and the Tampa area here. Well, I want to talk about the onshore push of those winds, Dr. Navin. First of all, just to clarify for everybody, when we say there's a north wind, that means the wind goes from the north to the south. It's the direction that it's coming from when we're talking about winds. Now, Dr. Nab, with that eye on the, going basically right up the center of Florida, are we adjusting those surge estimates now? And that's not going to really happen until the system has gone past us and there's not a lot of rain on the backside. Do we have to worry about people having this false sense of everything's okay and then that water going up? Or it's not going to be as significant because of where the center of circulation is located?
Well, I think the main message should be that there's still a storm surge warning up on the Gulf Coast of Florida, and maybe or maybe not in any given spot, the storm surge may or may not live up to the max values in those forecasted numbers from the Hurricane Center. But it's nighttime. The water levels are still high. They still could get higher than they are now after Irma passes north of that latitude. So it is a dangerous time to be getting anywhere near the Gulf of Mexico or anywhere near any saltwater body, Tampa Bay, the rivers connected to the Gulf, because you still could have life-threatening storm surge. It doesn't have to be 15 feet high to be life-threatening. So the message should be to stay away from the Gulf. Do not defy evacuation instructions, even if it may not get as high as the potential that was communicated ahead of time.
And Dr. Nab, we'll check in with you a little bit later to talk about the east coast of Florida and the push of water into Jacksonville, Georgia, and also into South Carolina. But first, we want to check in with Chris Bruin, who is just my north by about 40 miles. And, Chris, we've been in this consistent wind for at least 4 hours here, around 30, 40 miles an hour sustained, gusting up to about 60 miles an hour with the rain coming down. And that has been pushing into the Tampa area as well. How long have you been feeling it?
Hey, Stephanie, it has really been picking up really over the last 20 minutes or so. I mean, winds have been howling definitely up to about hurricane strength. I know earlier they were gusting up to 60 miles per hour, but really in the past 30 minutes, I mean, things have really been ramping up. Winds now, you can just see, I mean, it's hard to stand. It's hard to stand. We're definitely getting over 70 mile per hour gusts here in Tampa Bay. That's absolutely for sure. And I've been keeping an eye on the power outages, and they've been going out in the thousands. We're getting close to 200,000 people in Tampa and Hillsborough County without power. Then you add in St. Pete, and we're well over 300,000. So the power is going out, and again, the winds are howling. I don't know about you, Steph, but these have been, I mean, just really in the past, 10, 20 minutes, I mean, we're getting these strong gusts where it really is hard to stand, and now you got to start worrying about debris being flying around and, coming at you, breaking people's windows, tree branches coming off. I mean, this is really strong stuff. That's why I'm going to step in here just off to a little bit more safety, but you can get an idea of these winds, and they are howling. I know you're in Bradenton, but again, you guys are getting, hit. 60 mile per hour gusts there. Has it been picking up at all in the past 30 minutes?
It really has been just consistent. I mean, as we've had this huge shield, and what I'm calling, it's not even an eye anymore, it's really just a center of circulation. And Chris, we're up 5 stories here, and the Manatee River is right behind us. And so if you're right on the water, it's awful. How far are you from, say, a body of water? So people can just get an idea who live in the area, if you're right on the water, how bad it is versus you're several miles inland, the difference that you're going to experience.
That's a good question, Steph. We're actually right by the airport, so we're not even that, we're not even that close. We're not right on the water like you are. We are definitely several miles in from the water. We aren't worried about storm surge here, but you can get an idea for these wicked winds. I mean, they are howling, and we're not even in an open body of water. This is covered by buildings and trees, and you can see the winds really ramping up this hard. And it's definitely hard to even stand. I mean, we're definitely getting some pretty solid gusts here. Definitely up to hurricane force, absolutely. And we're not even on an open body of water. I mean, there's a lot of friction for this wind that has to pass, and it's not weakening. So you can definitely tell, throughout the city of Tampa, this is what we're expecting. It could even be stronger if you're right on the water, like say Tampa Bay, Hillsborough Bay, the river, or up towards the Gulf. So again, we are near the airport. We're here at the Hilton, about a 12-story building straight ahead. Most of the buildings here have no power now, and really that's been the case. We've been watching transformers blow throughout the night. I mean, it looks like almost lightning, but then you realize, oh, that was a transformer because it was a green flash. We've seen these green flashes of transformers blowing one after another, and this is why you have to stay put, guys. It may simmer down a little bit, and then you'll get this gust that could easily take you off course, and if you have your door open, that could just fly your door right open and cause damage, and then get those winds into your house. That's why you want to stay put. You want to stay inside where it is safe. And again, I'm just going to step out of the wind because, I mean, there's trees that could fall off, there's trees that could fall down, and there's branches that could really come at you and become projectiles. That's what you really got to start worrying about. And that's going to be the case here, not only in Tampa, but in Bradenton. And Steph, I got to ask you, I do know there was a water main break in Venice. There was a water main break in Venice, and the city has no power or no water there in Venice. That's south of Bradenton in Sarasota, and now you can't use water to flush your toilets. You don't have drinking water, so this is why it's always good to be prepared.
All right, Chris, we do have some breaking information here. According to iFlyMiami on Twitter, the Miami hurricane has sustained significant water damage throughout, and that is a quote. They had gusts of nearly 100 miles per hour, so they did sustain significant water damage. Let's talk about some damage in the Tampa area. And again, there was a roof that was blown off. This is the only damage reports like this that we've seen in the Tampa area. I have not heard of anything like this or seen anything like this around the Bradenton area, so we don't know, how secure or not secure this roof was, exactly what it was attached to, but it did get blown off nonetheless. Again, our gusts around the Tampa area, we have not seen any over 100 miles an hour yet. They've definitely been well below that, more 50, 60 mile per hour range. 3.3 million without power, but look at that roof. I don't know if it was old, if it wasn't secured. I don't have the whole story, but as you can see, it was getting torn away by the incessant winds. And this was much earlier when it was daylight, and now it is dark outside. So let's talk about as we head into the evening hours and what we can expect with Irma. And Dr. Nab, we've talked about the rainfall and some of the winds, but maybe you can detail, people get worried. People are going to be going to bed. What are we going to see happen with these winds as it crawls up the Florida Panhandle?
Well, they're going to be strong overnight into the morning hours, and so as you head to bed, it's a good idea to spend the night away from windows, away from exterior portions of your home in an area outside a flood-prone area. And if you're in a two-story home, you might want to be on the lower floor because when there are strong winds going on outside, that could be hurricane force. This is still a hurricane. And the gusts could still be 60, 70, 80 miles an hour. A number of things could happen. Debris could be flying through the air and fly into a window. You don't want to be near that window. Trees could fall. It could fall onto your house. You don't want to be any higher up in your house than necessary. The power could go out. So don't set a generator running indoors or in a poorly ventilated area for the night. Don't go to bed with candles lit on some table somewhere. That could cause a fire. I mean, there's just so many things that we can all do to stay safe when it's really windy outside. And ultimately, the most important thing is to not get in your car and drive outside because flash flooding, we know that the main way people die in inland flooding is in their cars. And so don't drive onto water-covered roadways. Don't drive at all. But the reason you don't do that is because you don't want to drive on a water-covered roadway. You don't want to drive around barricades when, let's say, the road is closed. People die in tropical storms and hurricanes because they're just driving on a slick road or there's debris or fallen trees. So there's just so many things we can do tonight and into tomorrow morning to stay safe during this event. And notice that there are flash flood and tornado warnings around. So Steph, for multiple reasons, just stay indoors and in the low floor out of a flood-prone area.
All right, Dr. Nab, all very good advice here. And of course, know where your flashlight is. That happens so much when you lose electricity and then you're in the dark trying to figure out where your flashlight is. I guess now we have our phones. You can turn that on to find your actual flashlight. But make sure you know where that is located, where your shoes are located. Put them all in one little area that you're familiar with. We're familiar with coming back after commercial breaks. I know that.
To feed your phenomenal, lean cuisine is changing. Over 20 dishes with no artificial colors, flavors, or preservatives. With ingredients like toasted coconut and juicy mango in our mango chicken. Feed your phenomenal with lean cuisine.
You have a vision. It drives you. It inspires you. It's why you can see what others can't. You know what you want, and we can help you get it. You need options? We've got all kinds. Start with a photo. Add your logo. Get it just right. Want to make it pop? Try a special finish. If you need help, we can do it for you. And if you want a premium paper, we've got that too. You want it done right, so we absolutely guarantee the paper, the printing, even your design. Every time, for any reason. Because you have a vision, and we have your card. 500 start at just $9.99 when you enter promo code BC500 at Vistaprint.com.
I enjoy the fresher things in life. Fresh towels, fresh soaps, and of course, TripAdvisor's freshest, lowest prices. So, if you're anything like me, you'll want to check TripAdvisor. We now instantly compare prices from over 200 booking sites to find you the lowest price on the hotel you want. Go on, try something fresh. TripAdvisor, the latest reviews, the lowest prices.
Wouldn't you like to be out on the rolling sea with only the sky above?
Hey, Grandpa. Hey, kid. Really good to see you. You too. You told Grandma you were going fishing again? Maybe.
The best things in life keep going. That's why I got a Subaru too.
Introducing the all-new Crosstrek. Love is out there. Find it in a Subaru Crosstrek.
It's been building up over decades. And through 35 years of severe weather, it's strengthened into trust. Trust in the Weather Channel. To us, nothing matters more. Every season, every storm, every time you watch. Trust the Weather Channel.
Hey, I'm Ty Pennington, and I've got a simple question for you. Are you paying too much for your mortgage? Well, you won't know for sure until you check with Guaranteed Rate. You can do it right now. It's that easy. With Guaranteed Rate's digital mortgage, you can choose from today's lowest rates, check your free credit scores, and even get approved online. Anytime, anywhere. All in just minutes, at no cost to you. Lowering your mortgage payment could save you thousands of dollars. Just take a few minutes right now to see how much you could save.
We were going to rent. That was the going-in plan, but the rate was so low at Guaranteed Rate that we ended up buying.
Whether you're buying a new home or refinancing your current home, get a low, low rate from Guaranteed Rate. Visit rate.com right now to find out how much you could save. Call 1-888-557-1555 or visit rate.com.
We've got a team of experts that are lined up here in Florida. And of course, we've got an Army personnel back at the Weather Channel.
Trust in the Weather Channel.
Currently in our area, 55 degrees under fair skies. Tonight, some clouds this evening will give way to mainly clear skies overnight. Low 49. Winds light and variable. Monday, a mainly sunny sky. High 79. Winds north-northwest at 5 to 10 miles per hour. Monday night, clear skies with a few passing clouds. Low 53. Winds light and variable. Here's our 7-day outlook.
and show you what it's like there and all the rain that fell. We have some numbers for you from South Florida. The rainfall, Oasis Ranger Station, 9.67. Fort Lauderdale, 9.57. Coral Springs, 5.53. Fort Lauderdale, 6.29. North Miami Beach, 4 inches. Miami officially 3 inches. Homestead, 2.93, but they've actually sustained some water damage to the Miami International Airport. It will be closed on Monday with limited service as we head into our Tuesday. They did have wind gusts up to 100 miles an hour. Speaking of high wind gusts, Mike Bettis saw them earlier as he went through the eye wall when the system came through Naples as a Category 3. You gotta watch his experience.
Everyone's without power right now. They passed out flashlights to every single person that was staying in the hotel last night. Shelter in place. You don't want to be out in this. No one should be out in this. Flooding, not an issue just yet. Again, watch for those gusts. Extreme wind warning in effect, 115 mile-per-hour winds. Hard to believe things will get even worse for us here, but they will. All right, they will get worse for us. Man, there it is. Now it's really ripping. We're covered. Our crew has protection. We've got helmets on, got the eye protection, and now this is the meat of it right here, folks. This is the eye wall of Irma. Watching right now for anything that might be flying because we need to take protection from many of those things. But now we're really starting to see the trees start to bend over quite a bit. Now you're starting to see visibility come way down, right? This is it. This is really the beast that is Irma. And again, I'm gonna put my back to that wind. I don't want any part of that one. And this is the heart of Irma right now in Naples. High wall hammering us right now. Winds are gonna gust over 100 miles an hour, already gusting to 115 as reported in Naples. I'm doing my best. This truly is exhausting. Sometimes I feel like I'm in good shape. I'm not so sure anymore. This is an eye wall. This is truly an eye wall here. The trees are doing pretty well. Wish I could say the same for myself.
And the eye wall's been collapsing since now we just have a center of circulation. Winds currently with Irma 105 miles an hour is a Category 2 here in Bradenton. That's the Manatee River just off the balcony here. We've had winds sustained north at 36 and the highest wind gust so far within this last hour, 64 miles an hour. Now, this is all transferring north. Alex, that center of circulation is going to be heading through us. Or west of us, or east of us, I should say. Sorry, it's been a bit of a long day. That center circulation is going to be going east of us as we head over these next couple of hours.
Right, yeah, and then we're watching places farther to the north. And we've got tropical storm warnings well into parts of Georgia. We've even got a tropical storm watch that includes a couple parts of Tennessee, a few counties there. So there's your tropical storm warnings. All the areas in red, those extend from parts of South Carolina, north of Charleston, all the way back into the state of Alabama. Of course, our hurricane warning even moving into parts of Georgia. So what does your timing look like? Well, for a place like Atlanta, you're going to get in on the 40 mile per hour plus wind gusts through the day Monday. It's the afternoon and into the evening that we think those 60 plus mile per hour gusts are possible. 3 to 5 inch rainfall total, so that could lead to plenty of downed trees. Got to watch for those power outages around the Atlanta metro. We've got much more after this.
I love you, a book and a peck. You bet your birdie neck I do.
While other insurance companies just see a house, we see the home you've worked really hard for.
Back in the day, our military had to rely on lanterns like these. But today, lighting technology has come a long way. Nick Bolton here with the new Tac Light Lantern from Bell & Howell. The Tac Light Lantern collapses down smaller than a smartphone and weighs less than a pound. But don't let its small size fool you. It's twice as bright as an ordinary lantern. The secret is the genuine Bell & Howell Cobb LEDs that are smaller, brighter, and more energy efficient than regular LEDs. They make our Tac Light Lantern so bright, it can fill an entire room with light and visible up to 2 nautical miles away. Plus, this lantern is built like a tank. It's heat resistant, works submerged in water, and can survive even the coldest conditions. Slide the housing to adjust the brightness for a little light or a lot. Add the fold-out hanging handles, and there's never been a better lantern for the great outdoors. When it's go time, I keep mine in full armor mode. Here's why. Takes a beating and keeps on working. So let's review. The Tough Lantern is small and compact. Features state-of-the-art Cobb LEDs that can fill an entire room with light and is built to withstand even the worst conditions. There's just nothing like it on the market today.
Act now, and through this special TV offer, you can get the Bell & Howell Tack Light Lantern for just $19.99, plus free shipping. And we'll even upgrade you to our Deluxe Tack Light Lantern, also free. It features a magnetic base for bright, hands-free light whenever you need it. But that's not all. Order today and we'll double your order. Just pay a separate fee. That's right. You can get 2 Deluxe Bell & Howell Tack Light Lanterns for just $19.99 with free shipping. Here's how to order.
To order, call 1-800-504-9190 or go to tacklightlantern.com. That's 1-800-504-9190 or go to tacklightlantern.com. 1-800-504-9190.
Take 5, guys.
Tired of your bladder always cutting into your day? You may have overactive bladder or OAB.
That's it. We really need to get with the program and see the doctor.
Take charge and ask your doctor about Myrbetriq mirabegron for OAB symptoms of urgency, frequency, and leakage. It's the first and only OAB treatment in its class.
Myrbetriq may cause serious allergic reactions. If you experience swelling of the face, lips, throat, or tongue, or difficulty breathing, stop taking Myrbetriq and tell your doctor right away. Myrbetriq may increase blood pressure. Tell your doctor right away if you have trouble emptying your bladder or have a weak urine stream. Myrbetriq may affect or be affected by other medications. Before taking Myrbetriq, tell your doctor if you have liver or kidney problems. Common side effects include increased blood pressure, common cold symptoms, urinary tract infection, constipation, diarrhea, dizziness, and headache.
Okay, time to do this.
Don't let your bladder always take the lead. Ask your doctor if Myrbetriq is right for you and visit myrbetriq.com to learn more.
You're watching the Weather Channel. Continued coverage. We've got a team of experts that are lined up here in Florida. And of course, we've got an Army personnel back at the Weather Channel. People working around the clock to give you, your friends, your family the information you need to keep you and your community safe.
Whether we're getting you through it, we're taking you to it. Trust in the Weather Channel.
And welcome back into the Weather Channel. You are looking live at Bradenton, Florida, and we are basically right in the heart of this system right now. We have the center of circulation. I'm no longer calling this an eye because there's no real distinct eye, but just a center of circulation. And it's just off to our southwest, that center of circulation. So we're going to advance this story from central Florida, northern Florida, Georgia, on into South Carolina as well. But I want to talk about the raggedness of this. I mean, first of all, the cloud shield is about 1,000 miles from Key West up towards D.C., the upper Sierras from it. But I want to bring in Dr. Knapp because Dr. Knapp, this thing is loaded on the north side and on the east side. On the west side, that dry air is really starting to get into it and erode away at it a little bit.
Yeah, it isn't a completely symmetric system like it once was, but it is still capable of producing strong winds on all sides of it. Maybe it won't be as strong without the thunderstorm activity on portions of the south and west side to bring down that energy as much as on the north side, but it's still windy, and it's still producing onshore flow south of where it passes. So we're still going to have the storm surge warning in effect on the Gulf Coast, and wherever you are in the Florida Peninsula, it's still going to be a dangerous night and a good night to stay indoors. This is still a hurricane. It is moving more quickly, moving north at 14. So while it was going about 6 miles an hour on the way to the Keys last night, it is accelerating. And even though it has taken a little bit more of a right path, farther to the east than originally thought, and that track might be adjusted a little bit to the right at 11 o'clock by the Hurricane Center. But in any event, where the exact center goes isn't the entire story. This is such a big system, and it's going to be affecting a huge part of continuing southwest Florida, but also look at all of this in central and northern Florida that's headed toward the Big Bend area, Tallahassee, and into Georgia as we go into the morning hours. And we have a number of hazards to contend with. because the center of circulation's here, but that's not really the center of action. Look at the flash flood and tornado warnings we have over on the east coast of Florida. And so we've got the rainfall, the inland flooding. We've got still the storm surge warnings on the coasts. Still, you need to stay away from the saltwater areas because the water levels are still high, and where they've been lower than average during the day, they'll come in and fill in. So you don't want to be near the saltwater. And at night, in addition to staying off the roads, you want to stay away from windows and away from exterior and upper floors because you want to put as much between you and the outside because hurricane force winds and tornadoes mean business. So with regard to some of the specific local warnings, flash flood warning in effect in Brevard, Indian River, and Osceola counties affecting the Melbourne area. That's until 10:15. That nasty band that went through really dumped a lot of rain, and then there's more coming from the south. These are 2 to 4 inch per hour rainfall rates. So while we're not going to be dealing with the Harvey kind of situation where the storm just sits there, we are going to have a lot of training and heavy rainfall and high rainfall rates going on. Here's a tornado warning in Volusia County until 9:45 for the city of Oak Hill. I mean, these are short-lived, but they can be very dangerous and potent, and they pop up quickly. So we want to make sure that you're taking shelter kind of on a permanent basis overnight. Let's just make it part of your bedtime routine tonight to go to a safe place. Maybe not sleep next to the window, and don't light candles, don't turn on generators indoors, that sort of thing. Now, where is the overall system headed? You can see it's headed northward, and there's still going to be some trailing bands into South Florida into tomorrow morning, but then the heavy rainfall gets into northern Florida and into Georgia in earnest, and then into northern Georgia by tomorrow afternoon and evening. And the wind speed probabilities are still valid for an inland hurricane. This gives you an idea of who's at greatest risk, not just at the coast, but inland from strong winds. The chances of tropical storm force winds near a certainty all the way into southern Georgia, and a pretty good chance, better than 50-50 shot, all the way through the southern half of Georgia, even getting close to the Atlanta area. And then the chances of hurricane force winds, not just at the coast, but inland areas as well, especially the western half of the Florida Peninsula, but strong gusts occurring on the east coast as well. And because of all of that, one of the big problems here is going to be power outages. More than just an inconvenience if you don't play it right. Again, running generators indoors or just outside with windows open if in a poorly ventilated area, carbon monoxide can wipe out entire families. We've had to write reports in the past in just this kind of situation with people dying with power outages and misusing generators or lighting candles and causing fires, and take care of folks who really need special care with medical equipment or something that depends on power if you're in areas where this is headed. So lots to contend with here. Stay off the road, stay sheltered overnight, and we're going to have Steph and Chris Bruin continuing our live coverage.
Dr. Knapp, when you were showing those wind probabilities, was that Jose that was just off screen that I saw?
Oh, yes. Yeah, Jose is still out there, and it's going to be out there for a while to come. It's not going to be affecting land directly for many days, but we'll have to watch it. It's going to do a little loop out there in the Atlantic between Bermuda and Puerto Rico, and we will hope it will just find a way out to sea. Ships get out of the way. It stays away from land, but I'm going to keep my eye on it.
All right, thanks, Dr. Knapp. I appreciate that. I can only do one of these at a time when they're this strong. Let's now go to Alex, who's going to talk more about what the officials are doing during the storm. Alex.
Yeah, one of the officials that's really been communicating with the people of his city is Mayor Bob Buckhorn of the city of Tampa. He joins us now. Mayor Buckhorn, throughout the day, you've been talking, you've been tweeting, and you've basically been saying this is something you've always been concerned about, you've been preparing for, and now this is the time.
This is the time. We were staring into the abyss. I still continue to assume that we're going to get hit with the worst of this. So we're preparing accordingly. We're ready to execute. You see all of these people here behind me. This is representing of the thousands of folks that are out there, police officers, firefighters, solid waste workers, ready to deploy at the first opportunity when the sun breaks, assuming the wind has died down, to go out and help this city recover.
Yeah, we look at the timing for you guys, and it looks like evening into the overnight, that's when you're going to get the brunt of it. What do you tell the folks in your community in regards to the next 12 hours and then beyond?
Well, I tell them first and foremost, stay off the streets. We've got a curfew in place as of 6 o'clock tonight. We don't need you on the streets. We don't need you wandering around. Stay in your houses. Let us get in there and get the streets cleared. Let us make sure that the power lines are out of the way and turned off, and that TECO has begun the process, and they've been great partners to restore power to those areas that have lost it. In those places where there has been surge, there will be some physical damage, so we need to get in there. Let us go in and do our jobs. We want to get rid of the curfew as soon as we possibly can, but you need to give us the chance to do our job so we can make it safe for you to come back to your homes.
Yeah, you guys are working hard. You look at a major metro area like Tampa. You look at many different threats from Irma. What are you most concerned about? And are there areas that you and the other emergency officials are particularly concerned about in this case?
Well, it's always has been our primary concern, as all of you have been saying. It's the surge that kills people. The wind damage, I think, will be relatively light. The flooding will be a problem, but it's the surge, particularly combined with the high tide tomorrow morning. That's what we really care about. The low-lying areas around downtown Tampa. My family has evacuated. I live in one of those low-lying areas. The surge is going to come in, then it's going to go out. And we need to get in there to help those people recover. So I would tell you that it really is the water that bothers me the most.
Yeah, you just mentioned your family evacuating. This is your community. And now, right off the top, you say we're kind of staring into the abyss. You find yourself here. What is it like as a mayor, as a community leader, to get ready and eventually lead your city through an event like this?
I don't have the luxury of emotions or necessarily pregame jitters. This for me and this for the team that's here behind me, this is what people are counting on us to do. People can gripe about government, they can gripe about high taxes, but they need government to be there when they are in their dire straits. This is one of those times. This is where my administration, me personally, has to rise up to fill that need and to be that voice for the community to assure them that it's going to get better. It may be dark right now, but it's always darkest right before the dawn, and dawn's coming, and we're going to be okay.
Great words, and hopefully this offers some comfort. As folks go through the worst of Irma, are there any numbers? Are there any websites that you want people to know about should they have issues or need information going through this?
Well, the first thing they can do is register with Tampa Ready to get the alerts that we're sending out literally on the hourly basis that will keep them updated. Text to Tampa Ready 888-777. That will allow us to keep you in the queue and allow you to get up to speed with what we're doing. Our website is active. Social media, we are just pounding stuff out there. We know people are scared. We know that they're frightened. We want to make sure that we are communicating with them and that they know what we are doing and that we are there for them in this period of time.
Mayor Bob Buckhorn from Tampa, thank you so much. We're going to let you go, let you get back to your fully staffed room, and we wish you the best. We'll be checking in with you guys as well. Right now, I want to send it back to Stephanie. Stephanie, Mayor Buckhorn's been very communicative via social media, via interviews today, getting the message out. We're going to get you through this. All about preparedness.
Yeah. I've got to tell you, Alex, I think from local officials all the way up to top government officials, this has gone as smooth as possible. You've heard the confidence in their voice, everything. I've got to tell you, of all the storms, again, I've been at the Weather Channel 14 and a half years. This is my 14th hurricane season, and I've never felt more confident that you've really done and put everything in place as best as they possibly could.
Yeah, and when you do that,
efforts from this.
And when you do that, you're able to get your message across clearly without panic. When the officials aren't panicking, we're able to get folks out and hopefully keep everybody the safest. We heard Governor Scott say last week his goal, was to keep as many people, if not everybody, completely safe during this.
And Brock Long as well. I mean, he has been very concise and knowledgeable, not only about what's happening at the government from top to bottom, but also what's happening with the storm. So, very educated on all of that. We want to educate you more on this storm and bring in meteorologist Chris Bruin, who's just actually, first we're going to go to when Jim Cantori was going through the eye wall, him and Bettis. Bettis was in Naples, got hit hard. It was kind of falling apart when it got to Fort Myers, and that's when Jim went through it, but it still had some serious gusts.
taking the heat of this eye wall right now and collapsing or not, and we just had a gust of 88 miles an hour at Fort Myers International Airport. You know, we are getting pounded with rainfall. So there's just a ton of rain coming down through here.
So the inner edge of the eye wall.
Look at that. It's going from bright.
Yeah.
How can you not see that? Look at how bright it just got.
We can see it, Jim. We can see how much brighter it is suddenly. All the white cars behind you are suddenly very white.
Wow. Yeah. Wow, that's it. Yeah, this is nuts.
Right on the edge, Jim.
I've never
you are
seen
so
that kind
on
of
the
brightening.
edge.
Okay. Yeah, that brightening and darkening, and it looks like off to my northeast a little bit. It looks even, yeah, exactly. So off to my northeast, that's where the eye went. Off to my south and west, it's a little bit brighter here. So we're kind of, you're right, we're right at the edge, Brian.
And I have some unfortunate news to report. We now have 3 dead in Florida due to Hurricane Irma. They've all been vehicle-related accidents. There was a multi-car crash earlier that killed 2, and now we have a single vehicle fatality. So you want to stay off the roads. And there's a lot of trees that are going down. We have a tree down right in front of our hotel, a big, massive tree. So you might not see it in the dark, or trees could fall on you in the dark. That could be problematic. We still have the power on. Let's go up to Tampa, though, about 40 miles to my north. Chris Bruin, he's been talking about the lack of power. But, Chris, we've really been getting similar conditions all throughout the afternoon and into the evening hours.
Yeah, it's been steady, you know, up to about 7 o'clock, and then things really started ramping up here. And really within the last hour, Steph, the winds have been very strong. We've seen gusts definitely over 70 miles per hour. And I've taken a look at the latest look. There's been 70 mile per hour gusts throughout Pinellas County and also here in Tampa. And there are gusts at times, even where I am standing, where it is hard to stand. And keep in mind, I'm about 6'4.5". It takes a lot of wind to make it difficult for me to stand. And you never know when that wind's coming. Right now we've got sustained winds about that 40 miles per hour. And I do want to mention the Hillsborough County Fire Department is now not able to respond to any calls because it is so unsafe to be out and about, and they can't risk their own lives, because if they risk their own lives, then it's worse off. So again, you got to stay put and wait till things calm down before people will be able to help you. All of the emergency officials are now on standby. They cannot go out and help you, but the conditions have very much deteriorated here across Tampa, especially over the last hour, and we definitely had those gusts upwards of 70, 75 miles per hour, so definitely getting in hurricane force strength. Now, I do want to mention it kind of comes and goes, so don't let your guard down. There may be times where you may be like, okay, I want to step outside just really quick and see what it looks like. But then you never know when that next 70, 80 mile per hour gust comes and takes a tree branch and flies it down the street. Now, I know there are numerous tree branches down throughout the area, some minor damage and some like siding and fence damage. That's the latest here in Tampa as far as the latest reports goes, just from visible looking at your window kind of thing. But I'm not going to be surprised for a lot more damage to be expected over time. And keep in mind, if you live in Tampa and you still don't have the emergency alerts here for the city, all you have to do is text Tampa ready to 888-777. Also, if you still have power, which the power is going out in the thousands as the winds continue to howl here across the board, download our Local Now app and you can stream us here on the Weather Channel even after you lose power. A lot of people don't have satellite, can't watch us on TV, but download the Local Now app and you'll be able to watch continuous coverage here on the Weather Channel. Now in Tampa, you just saw those gusts. It's hard to stand. And again, we're in a kind of an open area, so we're not really worried as much as debris goes, but you can get an idea of just these winds wrapping around the city. And Steph, I got to mention, the winds definitely have been picking up here in the last hour. Have they started picking up there in Manatee? And I have to say, I'm a little jealous. You still have power. That's impressive.
We do have power. We are very lucky here, though there are trees down. And when it comes to the wind, Chris, we've been fairly consistent. throughout the evening hours. You know, sustained 30, 40 miles an hour, and our highest gust that we've had so far is 64. That's been the official reading. So we have been very lucky to still have the power on here and water and the whole 9 yards. This is a big storm, and that's how it is different from so many other storms that we've seen. A lot of people want to compare it to Andrew, very tiny storm. Charlie, very tiny storm. This is huge. The wind field is huge. The span of clouds go from the Keys, those cirrus getting into D.C. Cirrus are upper level clouds, and it is just, I mean, massive, right? D.C. is feeling some of the effects of Irma. You're starting to see this erode as well. So on the west side of the storm and on the south side, you notice that there's not as much rain. The huge rain shield and wind shield is on the north side. And what's happening is well, first of all, it's over land. So obviously hurricanes do not like that for development. Second of all, we have this dry air that's being pulled into this, and that's eating away at this system as well. So we have both of those combined, but that doesn't mean it's less dangerous. I mean, still our Category 2 hurricane, and it's going to go down as we head overnight into tomorrow, but tropical storm warnings in Atlanta, schools canceled around Atlanta for Monday and Tuesday, depending on your district. Look that up. And we're still seeing those bands come in on the east side, and that's where you get the biggest tornado threat. We have actually had 56 tornado warnings in Florida, the most ever in a single day. And Alex, there was a lot earlier. It seems they've toned down a bit, but the threat still exists.
Yeah, we do have 2 active warnings now, and yes, the threat absolutely will exist moving forward with this storm. One of the things you're always concerned about is that possibility of tornadoes. Let's get to those warnings, show you where they are right now. We're watching the eastern part of the state of Florida, very close to and south of the Daytona Beach area. There are those 2 warnings. So one east of Orlando, one to the south and west of Daytona Beach. Your first one, this around the Titusville area. It's Brevard County, Cocoa Beach, Port St. John, and Titusville in this warning. This extends until 10 o'clock Eastern time. We head up to the north and west. This again southwest of Daytona Beach. Lake and Volusia counties included within this warning. We've got Astor, DeLand, DeLeon Springs in this warning. This storm moving to the west, so you're not looking at that typical motion that you oftentimes see with our thunderstorms that are accompanied by fronts. Here's Hurricane Irma's northward path now as we go through the day tomorrow. East-northeast surface winds with southeast surface winds down over parts of Florida. So winds out of the east-northeast into the Carolinas, southeast surface winds in Florida. You've got that southwest to southeast wind at 5,000 feet. So you've got the wind shear in play, and we've been watching that Catherine Prosov, one of our weather producers, calls it the string of pearls that you'll often see. And these are areas where we could, 1, see some training thunderstorms, but 2, some tornado-producing storms. So the areas that we've got to watch from Jacksonville up into parts of North Carolina, Torcon values, those are as high as 8 for parts of northeast Florida as well as eastern Georgia. We get into a 6 for much of South Carolina and parts of North Carolina.
Not enough room in your closet? Save space with the new Wonder Hanger Max. Now bigger and 50% stronger. It's easy. Just place 5 garments in the open slots. Lift and release. Wonder Hanger Max triples your closet space for neat, wrinkle-free, organized clothes. Strong enough for 5 heavy winter coats or 30 pounds of golf clubs. From purses to quilts. Organize your entire wardrobe with a Wonder Hanger Max system. Enough to hold 50 garments in one closet. Get your Wonder Hanger Max today. Available at most retailers.
As Hurricane Irma's path continues, there is one place to turn to and to trust.
You're watching the Weather Channel. Continued coverage around the clock. We've got a team of experts that are lined up here in Florida. And of course, you've got an Army personnel back at the Weather Channel.
Stand by, okay?
People working around the clock to give you, your friends, your family the information you need to keep you and your community safe.
Whether we're getting you through it or taking you to it, trust in the Weather Channel.
Currently in our area, 55 degrees under fair skies. Tonight, some clouds this evening will give way to mainly clear skies overnight. Low 49. Winds light and variable. Monday, a mainly sunny sky. High 79. Winds north-northwest at 5 to 10 miles per hour. Monday night, clear skies with a few passing clouds. Low 53. Winds light and variable. Here's our 7-day outlook.
Ground-in dust and dirt doesn't wait for the big weekly clean. So grab the only cord-free vacuum with the Dyson Digital Motor V8 that has powerful suction to clean deep. And up to 40 minutes runtime to clean anywhere, anytime, by anyone.
I enjoy the fresher things in life. Fresh towels, fresh soaps, and of course, TripAdvisor's freshest, lowest prices. So, if you're anything like me, you'll want to check TripAdvisor. We now instantly compare prices from over 200 booking sites to find you the lowest price on the hotel you want. Go on, try something fresh. TripAdvisor, the latest reviews, the lowest prices.
Hi, Phil Swift here. This storm season, get the entire family of Flex Seal products. Flex Seal creates a super strong barrier that seals out the elements. It's liquid rubber in a can. And with Flex Seal liquid, you can brush, roll, dip, or pour. With Flex Shot, you can caulk, bond, and seal virtually everything. Flex Tape is the super strong waterproof tape that can patch, bond, seal, and repair. Make the Flex Seal family part of your storm preparation kit.
My shift is done, but not my day. Not until I take the subway and the bus home. I have a car, but no insurance.
Need car insurance? Get covered for as little as $20 down with Good to Go Auto Insurance. Get a free rate quote in under a minute and proof of insurance on the spot. Then get where you're going a whole lot faster.
Visit goodtogo.com. It's fast, cheap, and easy. Visit goodtogo.com. That's good, the number 2, go.com.
Right now, wild tigers face an urgent crisis. Black market demand for tiger skin and bone has surged, triggering a spike in tiger poaching. Wild tiger numbers are so low that this demand could push them to extinction. But WWF is working to increase the number of wild tigers. Your support can help us stop poaching, eliminate demand for their parts, and protect their habitat. You can help us stop wild tigers and other endangered species from vanishing. Call or visit WWFnow.org to symbolically adopt a tiger for just $8 a month and receive this free adoption kit as a thank you. There is nothing as final as extinction. Act now, before it's too late.
We've got a team of experts that are lined up here in Florida, and of course we've got an Army personnel back at the Weather Channel.
Trust in the Weather Channel.
We now have an extreme wind warning, anticipating winds at 115 miles an hour. That's going to do structural damage. That's going to take down trees and power lines.
We already had a tree come down here.
People in Lee County alone in shelters. I'm trying to remember the last county that had that many people in shelters.
We're going to be in this for hours. We're likely going to be in this all the way through sunset and beyond.
Well, Irma is blowing hard over the Florida Peninsula. We've even had recent wind observations in between Lake Okeechobee and Orlando in the town of Sebring, near 76 miles per hour with a wind gust just within the last 15-20 minutes. Here's a bigger picture view of what's going on with Irma. It is still a hurricane. and it is going to remain a hurricane into tomorrow morning. And you're going to be seeing wind gusts 60, 70, 80 miles per hour over many portions of the central and northern Florida peninsula. And just to give you an idea of what some of the observations are at some of the major airports, routinely getting sustained winds. West Palm Beach, Daytona, Punta Gorda of tropical storm force, and the gusts much stronger than that. And it's right about in here, just north of the center, where we had that strong gust near 76 miles an hour in Sebring. And that is all spreading northward. This is a really good night to be staying off the roads because of both wind and water hazards, and to stay as far away from windows and out of flood-prone areas on the lower floor of your structure, so that if something is flying through the air, debris, a tree falls, that you are as far away from the outside as you can possibly be. This is going to be a big rainmaker as well. Look at how large this rain shield is. It's already about to start raining in the extreme southeastern part of Georgia, but it's still raining down in the Naples area. And look at this huge band that extends from offshore of Miami and Fort Lauderdale almost to the Bahamas, and then wrapping around into central Florida. And that's where a lot of these tornado spin-ups are occurring, and where there's some training occurring and causing some flash flooding. And here's where the center of circulation is, and there's Sebring. There's where that really strong wind was a little bit ago. And they might not be done with some really strong wind reports. And this is headed generally northward, so heads up in Lakeland, Orlando. It's already windy in Tampa. Regardless of where the exact center goes, a lot of folks are going to get sustained tropical storm or even hurricane force winds and very strong damaging wind gusts. Power outages are a big problem tonight, and the future radar shows going into tomorrow morning that center of circulation probably making a left-hand turn, going nearer over the Big Bend area of Florida, not too far from Tallahassee and Lake City. And then, wow, is it going to rain a lot in Georgia and southeastern Alabama tomorrow, where tropical storm watches and warnings are up because of the significant chances of tropical storm conditions extending well outside the state of Florida. And you are not only going to get familiar with tropical storms up in Georgia, you're going to be very conversant on the various hazards, both wind and water. This is not just going to be a coastal event. This is going to be an inland event, as these often are after they make final landfall. Chances of hurricane force winds are going to be strong in the western half of the Florida Peninsula. So Chris, Bruin, in the Tampa area, it's going to be a long night and a long morning. If you don't get sustained hurricane force winds in any given spot, the gusts are going to be pretty strong, and you got to stay off the roads and stay sheltered tonight.
Hey, Rick, I have a question for you. I know the latest observation at the Tampa International Airport was up in the upper 40s, but I got to say, it has been a lot stronger than that. I can stand in 40-mile-per-hour winds just fine. I'm having a hard time staying put. And I don't know if that's just because of the winds whipping around some of the topography here, the buildings and the trees, or I would definitely say there's been gusts now well over 60, potentially over 70 miles per hour here. What is some of the observations around the Tampa Bay metro area? I know transformers have been flashing off left and right, and many branches and limbs are now coming down, even fences.
Yeah, I'm just looking off to the side here because we just, in the last few minutes, got from the Tampa Bay National Weather Service office, not far from Clearwater, at one of the Seaman stations, peak gusts of 74 miles per hour at Pier 60 on Clearwater Beach. So that just gives you an example of how the wind speeds and the gusts can be quite variable from place to place, what your exposure is, whether or not there's funneling between nearby buildings. So, Chris, it really is quite a difference from spot to spot and from moment to moment as these bands go by.
Yeah, and it's these gusts, you know, it'll simmer down to about 40, and then it'll pick right back up, and it'll really catch you off guard. It's hard to even walk, so that's why we just urge you to stay in your house. Now, keep in mind, as you mentioned, a 74-mile-per-hour gust there in Clearwater. I wouldn't be surprised for similar wind conditions here, as it is very hard to stand. And keep in mind, we're not even right on the water where you have no friction coming right off the water or the bay or Tampa Bay. We're in, we're not by any nearby water. We're a couple of miles inland from that, and we have buildings and trees all around us, and the wind is still this strong, even away from the open water. Now, I notice